So these things we have discussed in a last lecture. So Verilog is a hardware description language, and as we have discussed, there are two types of two hardware description language. One is Verilog, another is PHP. Verilog is easy to learn because if you see its structure and it is all the syntax and structure is similar to C programming. So Verilog in Verilog HDL we can describe using a behavioral as well as a structural. So it is a behavioral and structural language, and VHDL it is a case insensitive, but Verilog is case sensitive language. So any model on a Verilog HDL can describe in both a functional as well as a using a component. So let me start with the history of Verilog. Verilog was invented around in 1983, right, at a Gateway Design Automation Laboratory, and it was invented by the two scientists. One is Phil Murby and another is Prabhu Goyal. Then Gateway Design Automation was purchased by the Cadence in around 1990. Cadence Design System. So Verilog was invented originally for to describe the design and simulation purpose only. Right? Later on, Verilog synthesis support added in a Verilog HDL. So initially, Verilog was designed only for to describe the design in terms of a language and a simulation of that design. Later on, synthesis. Synthesis means how to the convert or what types of logic it create from any VHDL syntax, what types of its digital logic it's create through this language. So this synthesis is added. Then Cadence transferred the Verilog into a public domain under the Open Verilog International (OVI). Later on, the Verilog was submitted for the IEEE standard. Right. So in around 1995, that Verilog become a IEEE standard 13642 1995. Commonly referred that it is a Verilog 95. So it is submitted to IEEE around in 1995 with some. So it is called a Verilog 95 IEEE standard. Then in 2001, Verilog 95 were extended with some new features, and that what are the limitation in Verilog 95, that is overcome by adding some new features in around 2001. And again it given a new IEEE standard, so that modified design, modified the language, extended the language of Verilog 95 in around 2001. So it is given another IEEE standard. It is a 2001 IEEE standard, and widely known that HDL that language it is a Verilog 2001. Nowadays, most of the EDA tool supporting the Verilog 2001 language for the design and digital design, as well as to convert the design, that RTL design into a synthesis gate level netlist. So this Verilog 2001, it is we are using. Then around in 2005, some features of verification is added in uh, the Verilog 2001 variant, right? So that is some minor modification in that, and in around that Verilog 2005, new features of design verification is added, and around in 2009, that is a called a system Verilog 2009. So system Verilog 2009, it is a system Verilog language, and it is basically have the features of verifications. So it is widely used for a verification of RTL design, or we can say a functional verifications. Verilog 2005, it is used for the design. Design means to for the RTL design, to write the that HDL code of any digital design from the specification. So do not confuse with Verilog 2005 and System Verilog. System Verilog, also people are using System Verilog for the some simple design, but for widely designed people are using a Verilog, and for verifications system Verilog is used. Right? So that's about the history of Verilog HDL. Then why we should have to learn the HDL? So there are many advantages of a hardware description language in this SOC level design, such that at a submicron technology, right? So it is very difficult to implement any digital system without a HDL. Suppose I want to implement any one digital system which have the like say suppose the processor. So I need, if I don't have any HDL, then I need a many ICs, IC of the different different logic gate. We need IC of memory. We need some ALU, some storage device. So we need many IC to implement some digital system or digital design, right? Without the HDL. So HDL, it is highly needed in such a complex digital system implementations. So first advantage of HDL is hardware description language advantage is design can be described at a very abstract level by use of HDL. So whatever our thought we can write in terms of a program, right? Whatever the specifications, we can describe that specification using some algorithms. So that types of features that is very good. So we can easily specification we can easily describe in terms of program. But if you want to if you want to implement it on directly without this programming, then it is very difficult, right? So we can design at a higher level, right? So at a language or programming, it is higher level compared to work at the hardware level, right? So that is one of the advantage of hardware description language. Another advantage of hardware description language is functional verification of design can be done early in the design cycle. So if we implement the design using some this discrete logic gate IC, then verification is we can do after the mounting all the IC on a board. Then we can have the verification, and if they are having any bug, then it will cost us many more because we already implemented a hardware, right? But in a case of if we use any program to describe the hardware, then at the program level itself we can identify it will work as per the our functionality or not. right? So not need to be implement on a actual, not need to prepare a actual hardware to for the verification purpose. We can verify it at the early stage, like as we are doing simulations before a actual implementation. Same thing is here. HDL is the language to describe a digital system specifications. So we can do some simulation on that before to be implemented on a actual hardware. So that is functional verification of the design can be done early in the design cycles. So if they are having any, we are not getting as per the actual specification, we can modify the design at the programming level. So we not need to invest anything in terms of hardware or in terms of the money, right? Just human that where human tech that we have to write the code and we have to just modify the code. So there is no any to for first stage verification, nor any investment needed in the if we implement the design using a hardware description language. Am I audible clearly?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, thank you. Okay, then third advantage of HDL is design with HDL is analogous to the computer program. It is analogous to computer program. Suppose if you want to develop some software, we are writing the program for that. So similarly here, if you want to implement any digital system, we are describing a specification in terms of a programming. So that is easy, right? It's quite easy to work directly at the lower abstraction level. Suppose I say to design something in, if I give some specification. Okay, if I enter on my class, I want to count how many number of students inside the class. I want to put some sensors, and based on that, I want to count how many students in the inside and at any time. So right, so that if you start designing that system using the different logic gate IC basic block, then might be it is a complex and even to thought to implement the our the design directly at the lower abstraction level, it take the time, right? And instead of that, if I say to write the program for that, you can write very easily. You can using only the few sentences by comparing. If there is control equal 1, then increment the count. Like that, suppose you can create the program very easily. So that's the power of the HDL, and why the people of any such a complex digital design, HDL is very much important at the RTL design in any VLSI design flow, right? Either in a that ASIC flow or a standard gateway based flow or an FPGA design based programmable design. Now let me talk something about a VLSI design methodology. VLSI design methodology. Right? So might be you have heard in your first chapter, in second chapter, when Puneet sir has talked to you, might be that in the VLSI design or myself. So VLSI design methodology is a VLSI can have the two methodology based on the design hierarchy, and another is based on the abstraction level. So based on design hierarchy, there are two types of design methodology. One is the top-down design methodology. Top-down design methodology. So in a top-down design methodology, the complex digital system, it convert into a different sub-block if it can be divided, right? And the as we already studied the four terminology. One is locality, another is the regularity, third one is locality, regularity, modularity, right? And the hierarchy. There are four words in a VLSI design flow, right? can anyone say me what is and why, what is the importance of the modularity? So modularity means if our any complex design, if we can divide into the different part, right? If we can divide into the different part, and we have to divide the part such a way that it should have the a common block, right? Suppose I want to implement a 4-bit adder, right? Suppose I want to implement a 4-bit binary parallel adder. So I know this is 4-bit binary parallel adder, and 4-bit binary parallel adder, we can divide the design into a 4 part, and in each part have a 1-bit full adder, 1-bit full adder. So this all 4 blocks are similar. 4 blocks are similar. So we have to design, we have to divide our complex design such a way that it should produce a maximum number of blocks similar. Or we can say we have to divide our complex design such a way that it should have a minimum number of different blocks, minimum number of distinct blocks. So here this 1-bit, 4-bit adder can divide using only one distinct block, which is 1-bit full adder. But in some design we need different blocks. Suppose I want to design suppose I want to design a 1-bit full adder, 1-bit full adder, right? Then I can design this 1-bit full adder. I need a 2 block. One is a half adder, 2 half adder, and I need 1 block. It is an OR gate. This is understood. This is very simple example. I am explaining you with taking very simple example that what is the concept, what is the importance of modularity when we divide the complex design in a top-down design methodology into a simple similar block, right? So here 1-bit full adder can design using 2 half adder and the OR gate. So here 2 distinct block, one is 1 half adder, another is OR gate. So we need to be design only the half adder and OR gate, and we can use that half adder and OR gate and connect such a way that we will get the functionality of 1-bit full adder. So that is similar concept is used in a top-down design methodology. So when we have some complex design, it to divide into the different sub-block and we have to divide such a way that it create a minimum distinct sub-block, right? Minimum distinct sub-block. So we need to be design only that blocks, right? And again this sub-block is divided into the sub-block, and we have to divide this in a top-down design methodology. We have to divide this block, sub-block until last with the lip cell, which is cannot be division. It cannot be divided further. We have to divide the functionality of the complex digital design up till we'll get the lip cell, and lip cell is defined as it is a lowest level block. It cannot be divided further. It cannot be divided further. Right? So here I will also going to take one example to. So here, as I told, it is top-down, other bottom-up approach. Another approach is bottom-up design approach. Bottom-up design approach. So in a bottom-up design approach, using a that is using some starting from the device, right, or starting from the layout, right? So using the layout, preparation of the device, right? And using the device prepared some standard cell for the VLSI design. As you heard about the standard cell, right? Standard cell is some frequently use the minimum digital block like a 1-bit full adder. That another block is like a D flip flop, 2 cross 1 mux, are all called as standard cell. Okay, that is widely used by connecting such standard cell. We can create any digital functionality. Okay. So bottom-up design approach normally used at a backend design side. Backend design. Okay. And top-down design approach, it is used at a front-end design side. So in a front-end designer use the top-down design methodology, and the bottom-up that backend design engineer or backend side in a VLSI design flow, bottom-up design methodology is used. So complete VLSI design flow or to implement any digital system or to create a chip for any digital system, both the methodology is used, top-down design methodology and bottom-up design methodology. Okay. So let me take one example. It will be clearly understood using this example what is the top-down design methodology and the bottom-up design methodology. So let's take example of a 4-bit ripple carrier. So we know how to divide this 4-bit ripple carrier can implement using a similar such 4 T flip-flops. So here the design is divided into a similar block using the modularity concept. So we need to be design only a one block, and we can use that repeatedly to be build a 4-bit ripple carry adder. So let's see, can we divide this T flip-flop further or not? If we cannot divide the T flip-flop further, then we can say T flip-flop is a leaf cell, right? And here we can say we can divide these T flip-flops using a 1D flip-flop and an inverter. So using a 1D flip-flops and inverter, we can create a T. See the structure of T flip-flops, 1D flip-flop and one inverter, then this will work as a T flip-flop, right? This is one module of a T flip-flop. So T flip-flops again divided into the sub-block and sub-blocks. Here it is two distinct module. One is the D flip-flop module, another is the inverter module. Now let's see, can we further divide the D flip-flops into simple blocks? Yes, we can divide it. We can construct the D flip-flops using the NAND gates or like that. But let me consider here the D flip-flop is our basic block that will going to implement using the behavioral modeling. And one the NOT gate, that is not again a further divide. This is a basic that logic block, right? So these are the two left side. So first, in a top-down design methodology, we have to implement a leaf cell logic using the HDF, right? So first we have to implement a leaf cell logic. So it is one is the D flip-flop. So we have to write one program for the D flip-flop that implement a D flip. And here the name is D underscore FF. Then we have to write one program for the NOT gate, or not required to write because not one primitive is already having a very low library, so we can directly use. So using this D flip-flop, which is D flip-flop, using structural architecture modeling, we can connect the D flip-flop with the NOT gate, and it can create a D flip-flops. Here it's DFF, and what are the input? One is the clock. So what is the here? If you see in a D flip-flop, here we have first defined Q, then D clock and reset in the port list of. This is the port list of module, right? So whatever we here we have written in a D flip-flop module, and when we instant that module to construct the D flip-flops and T flip-flop, at that time whatever we write the first instant name, first variable name, port name, it will by default connect with this first whatever enough list. So first in a port list, it is an output of D flip-flop. So where we want to connect D flip-flops? We want to connect the output of D flip-flops to the input of that NOT gate as well as our final output. So this here you can see this is output. It is connected with the output of T flip-flops as well as this output it is used for the input of D flip-flop NOT gate, and this is the output of NOT gate. So NOT gate output, it is we want to connect to the D input. So this is input and this is the output. In a Verilog, all the primitives. Suppose I want to implement a AND gate. So if the simple is AND is the function name, and whatever we'll write first. Suppose I want to write first is X, so it take X as an output, and suppose I write A, B, comma C, then it is implement a 3-input AND gate, right? So it will AND these three. It will AND these three, and it is assigned to X. So it will perform. So whatever you write the first, that is by default it is an output, because output in all the logic gate is single, right? So whatever you write first, it is an output, and then after if you write the 2 variable, then it implement a 2 variable NOT gate or 2 variable gate. If you implement write the 3 variable after that, then it is implement a 3-input logic gate. So here in NOT gate also it's not first here D, so D is in our output of NOT gate, and input of NOT gate is 1, so only one variable update. So this is input, so it perform a NOT, and output is assigned to D. So is it clear, the primitive syntax structure? Right? Now, so here this is the implementation of the T flip-flops. Right? This Q, this is external D. So this is the external T. So it is implementation of T flip-flop. Now, using this such T flip-flops, by connecting such 4 T flip-flops using the structural architecture modeling, we can have a 4-bit ripple carry adder. So this is the concept of top-down design methodology. So top-down design methodology used at a front-end design. Okay. From the specification up to the physical design. So from the specification to RTL code, top-down design methodology is used. From that synthesis, and then start the physical design. In a physical design, so in a front end, this is front end design. So in a front end design, top-down design methodology is used, and in back end design, in a physical design in back end design is called a back end design. So in back end design, bottom up design methodology is used. Bottom up design methodology is used. So here we have a prepared RTL code, right? So it is a front end design. Now once we synthesize the RTL code, that will do by the tool itself, and then it convert into the layout, right? So if you see at the backend side process, so here what are the two lip cell? So here the two lip cell, one is the D flip-flops, another is the NOT gate, right? So this is also called a standard cell. Standard cell, right? So standard cell is designed from the using the bottom-up approach. So from first it connect the different layers of material, and from the layout it prepared a device, right? N flip-flop, N MOSFET or the P MOSFET from the layout. So layout is the lowest abstraction level, right? So it is nothing but the different material layers, and that arrangement of different materials layers, and that arrangement gives us a different device characteristics, right? So from the device, it connect the different device. Suppose I want a NOT gate, I connect a one NMOS and one PMOS. So this is nothing but the a NOT gate, right? So here the approach, it is from the layout to the standard cell. So it is a bottom up approach, bottom up approach, which is means the bottom up design methodology is used to design a standard cell, and using the standard cell we can construct any complex digital design. So at that time top down design methodology is used, right? So in a backend side bottom up design methodology is used. Any questions so far? uh, Top down design methodology and bottom up design methodology. Okay. Now another approach is based on the abstraction level. So in a Verilog it supports the four types of abstraction level. Behavioral level. So in behavioral level it have some input and output relation. So here we have to implement our design in terms of some algorithm or some sequence of some statement that VHDL syntax, right? We have to arrange that or program such a way that it as per the specification. It have the relation of input and output logic as per the specification. Another is, so behavior abstraction level is it is the highest abstraction level, highest abstraction level, right? So and it's more user friendly. So it as in a language also higher the uh, high language is more user friendly compared to the lower that machine language, right? So similar in a very low also. Another is the data flow abstraction level, and the data flow abstraction level, if you know the flow of data or how the transfer the data from one register to another register, right? This is one res to the another res, how the data is transferring. Or in say if our design is ready in terms of the Boolean equation. So Boolean equation itself shows the how we want to transfer, what is the logic relationship of output and input. So if our design is ready in, or in terms of Boolean equation, then we can go with a data flow architecture modeling or data flow abstraction level. Third is the gate level abstraction level. So in a Verilog, if the structure if is ready, whatever we want to implement, its structure if we have ready in our mind in terms of the different logic gate, right? Then we can use the inbuilt primitive of the Verilog. So inbuilt primitive are all the logic gate, like or for the ors also. The function name is spelling of OR gate. For to and function name is itself is the AND. And we remember in a Verilog it is a case sensitive, and all the primitive, all the keywords are in a lower case. All the keywords you will see in a Verilog are in a lower case, right? Even in the module and always, all these words are in lower case. So or, in, then the NAND, XOR. So all the logic gate, not all the logic gates, it's have a inbuilt primitives. So as in a VHDL, we need to write the program for first for the logic gate, and then we can use that that component for to construct the complex digital design. But in the case of the Verilog, this is all inbuilt written in the that library file, not need to be even to declare the as well as not need to write for that separate program, directly we can use. So have a uh, very rich library in a Verilog compared to the VHD, right? So we can use directly primitive, and we can write the gate level program. Then another last is the switch level. So if you want to implement any design using the device, directly using the device, right? So it is let's say more complex. Suppose I want to implement simple two input AND gate, then it required a more than 4 devices to implement a 2 input AND gate using the CMOS, right? But if I implement using the gate level, it required only a one syntax to write A and D, comma, whatever the output, comma, A and B are the input. As a data flow, it's even the more simpler. Just we have to write one syntax, and the behavior it's again a more simple. So switch level switch level abstraction level is the lowest abstraction level. So these are the four abstraction level support in a Verilog. As in a behavior level, it is form of some procedural statement, right? And in data flow, it is some assigned statement in Verilog. And in gate level, it is used some primitive to implement, right? So which structure we have seen? We have seen this structure. Uh, Gate, one OR gate, here one OR gate, and output of AND and OR again we want to OR it, right? So here through this AND, so here you can see this is implementation of this AND gate, where Y1 is the output and A and B are the input. And this OR, it is implementation of this, here the Y2 is output and C and D are the input, right? And third OR gate, it is the implementation of this last, which is the ORing of output of AND and output of OR gate. Here the Y1 and Y2 are the input and output is Y. So it is easy to write if we have our design structure with us, then we can use the gate level abstraction level to write the Verilog HVA. In a switch level, we can use a divide, NMOS and PMOS. Now this is very much important, as yesterday we have seen a structure of VHDL program. Today we'll see what is the structure of Verilog. So Verilog, it can describe the set of modules. We can connect the different modules to in a Verilog. So in a Verilog, one is one top level design. This top level design is nothing but the test bench. It is also called a test bench. Test bench, it is called a top level design because design is put under the test bench. Right? So DUT, it is under the test bench. So this is the test bench, and this is the design, RTL design. So that's why it's called a top level design or top module. Also it is called a top module, and this is called a RTL module or a design module, right? This is called a design module. Design module. So when I use word the design module, that means our RTL design, and top module means it is a test bench environment. So the structure of Verilog program. So structure of Verilog program, you see, it start with the module. This is the keyword, right? As in a VHDL entity, in a Verilog, it is a module. Then we have to give the module name. This is the module name. So here you have to remember again when you provide the module name. So as I yesterday explained, the module name must be how to in a single word. Second thing is, it should not start with any number. Start with number, right? Third thing, should not start with even dollar number as well as dollar sign. Right? And the module name should not be a reserved keyword of Verilog. You cannot use a reserved keyword. Keywords of Verilog. So when you give the module name, keep in mind the module name, it should be such a way that in a single word, or should not start with the number, and the we cannot use any reserved keyword to give the module name of a Verilog program. Then in bracket we have to specify the port list, right? So here you can see the example of a half header. So we know in a half header it's have a one XOR gate, right, and one AND gate. So here it's our input A, B, and the output is sum and carry. So port list, inside the port list we have to specify the signal or a port or a net which is coming out from this module for when we want to connect with the other module. So other module can see only the port list. It cannot see what is the inside of the module, right? So here in a half header there are two input pin and two output pin. Okay. So whatever the name we want to give, we have to specify here A, B, sum and carry. Then the next part is the port declarations. By default, we remember this A, B, sum and carry. Here it is port list, but we have to declare out of these four port which ports we want to use as an input port or which port we want to use as an output port. So we have to declare here we want to A and B are the input ports. So it is input. So input is a mode. So in a Verilog, it support three types of mode. In a VHDL support 4 mode, Verilog support the three type of mode. One is the input mode. It is name from the name we can understood. From this port we can read the data. We cannot write the data on that port, right? Another mode is in output port. So on that port we can write the data. We cannot read the data from that port. And third port is in-out port. In-out. It is when we want to declare any bidirectional net, we can use the in-out port. So here A and B we want to use as input. So input A comma B, and sum and carry we want to use as an output. So output sum and carry. Once we declare the port, so this is the port declaration. This is this part. Right? Then the part is the variable declaration. So variable is any internally jumper we required, right? Any internal jumper. But in this design we do not require any internal jumper. So in a Verilog, variables, there are two types of variables in a Verilog. One is the range type, another is the net or wire type, also called a net or also called a wire. So there are two types of, as in a VHDL have a signal or a variable, right? Signal can store and forward the data. Variable, it's only to forward the data. Means it is simply a jumper. So here also in a Verilog there are two types of data types. One is the range type, another is a net or wire type. So in a range type, it is like a store and forward. And net and wire, it is just to forward the data. It cannot hold the data. So if you have a requirement is, if you want to hold the previous status up till the next clock age or like that, then we need to be declared that port as a range data type. So on that port it hold the previous logic value. So in this design there is no any intermediate signal not need to required. So there is, you cannot see here any variable declaration in the program. After the variable declaration we have to describe the behavior. right? Description of behavior. So description of behavior is an internal view of the module, whatever we want to implement. Right. So here we want to implement sum, we want a XOR B, and carry we want A and B. So again in a Verilog we can implement using the 4 types of abstraction level. So here it is implemented using the data flow abstraction level. Whatever you can see, it is a method of implementation using the data flow abstraction level, where it's have an assigned statement in a data flow. So it is assigned sum equal to A XOR B. This is a bitwise XOR operator. This is XOR operator. Bitwise XOR operator. This is symbol for the AND operator. AND operator. Okay. Once the description of behavior is over, also we can have any function or task. Suppose some portion of the program we want repeatedly we want to execute. So not need to write in that program multiple times. We can write simple one task for that or a function for that, and every time just we can call the task or function. So it is similar functionality of the C language. So that is also supporting in a Verilog. Right? But here we not such a in this example program we not required to task and function, so it's not default. At the end, and this module with the reserved keyword and module. Right? So any program, any Verilog program, it start with the module and end with the end module. And in between, we have to be declared the pod declaration, if any variables or description of behavior using any architecture modeling, and if you have a function or task. Right? Is it clear? Any questions in this Verilog module?
Sir, task and function ક્યારે use થાય એક વખત પાછું?
Task and function is similar to C. Suppose some program statement we want to run multiple times. We want to run that multiple lines. Suppose, right? So not need to write that multiple times in a program. Instead of that, define that set of statement in a task. And whenever we call the task, is go to that task and run this. It execute that set of statement and again come back to in a main program.
એટલે C program ના function જેવું થયું ને સર?
Function જેવું exactly. In a Verilog have a two task and function. It's some slight difference between task and function. When we have to use the task and function, I will take in detail. Task cannot return any value in a main program, but function can return with some value, right? So that the main difference between task and functions. Any other questions?
Sir, CMOS અને NMOS positive set કહેવાય ને?
CMOS અને PMOS અને NMOS. PMOS અને NMOS.
એ primitive set છે ને?
Ha, yes. At a switch level, we can use that PMOS and NMOS like a or and such. Similarly, NMOS and PMOS. Yes. Any other questions?
So directly આપણે CMOS કે primitive ના થાય?
થાય ને? But it will your design will be more complex. Even if you want to implement a half adder, then also you can count how many NMOS and PMOS required. So if you design start with the lower abstraction level, it will be more complex. Are you getting?
Yes.
That thing we have seen in the VLSI design. Suppose even if you want to implement a layout of a simple CMOS inverter or layout of a simple NOR to gate, that also more complex. But to implement the two input NOR gate using the VHDL, it is so simple, just to write a single statement. But at the layout level, it is too much complex, even as small module to implement.
Okay, sir.
But at the lower abstraction level, have a higher that we can say performance will get. There would be not any unused component. It is like it's similar to comparing the higher level language and the programming language, right? Suppose have you studied the assembly language? Have
Yes,
you?
micro.
So you can compare the assembly level language and C language. In assembly level language, even to implement a small functionality, we need to be write so many that operand, like whatever you are calling, right? If you see the length of code, right? But at the C language, it is very easy because have an inbuilt library. So it can, even if you compare the C and Python have a more inbuilt library, so it's more user friendly. Very easily we can complex design we can easily write in terms of program using the few sentences. So same thing is here in a Verilog also. If you start with the switch level abstraction and the behavior abstraction level, but at the lower level language have some another advantage. It requires the less memory compared to the C, right? Suppose if you are writing the program in assembly and same functionality, if you write the program in the C, you can see the memory requirement in both the case. Will be the difference, because that both have this its own advantage and disadvantage. So up to the manageable complexity, we should have to go with the lower abstraction level. And once the complexity is not manageable, then definitely we should have to use a higher abstraction level modeling. Right? So that's why in a bottom-up design methodology, at a backend design side, it start with the layout, and backend designer have to design only a standard cell, right? So standard cell are 2x1 marks. It is one of the standard cell. Not gate, D flip flop. So all are the common block widely used to design a digital system. All are the standard cell. So complexity is manageable. Suppose I want a NOT gate, so I can start with the layout, lowest abstraction level, and I can design it. But suppose I want to implement a processor or a memory or a ripple carry header, so I can't start with the layout and I can have reach up to the 4-bit ripple carry header. It's not a manageable complexity. So a backend design side, when we want a standard cell, we can use a lower abstraction level, and in complex design using a high level abstraction level. Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. So here it is an test bench that we'll see in next lecture, because we'll not finish it. Any questions? This up to whatever we have covered.